Shinkando se shaka puna twe kale pansaka shicharna na lete yashi yashi shirioline twala landa kufunda bantu Shishirioline twalalanda kufunda bantu balekyo kupatana umayanda pamachitone mitundo yonse alamute mwanu umayanda pamachitone mitundo yonse alamute mwane kubenji potene sasa alamute mwane kubenji potene sasa.
Good evening, people. Good evening, Zambia. Good evening, Chiwempala, Milengi, Mongu, Livingstone, Monze, Solwezi, wherever you are in Zambia, and our friends in the diaspora. This is TV Bakwetu, bringing you another presentation. And today we are looking at a program which is starting today and called Hearing from Constituencies. Beginning today and every Saturday, we'll try to bring this program at 21 hours. The idea at 20 hours. The idea is to be able to hear what is happening throughout the country at constituency level and at ward level, especially with the CDF. We hope that by bringing this program every Saturday, we are going to learn from one another. We are going to hear what is happening in various parts of the country. We will learn together, we will share challenges, we will share successes. And as we begin this program today, tonight, we have the honor of having a special guest who is Honorable Sipho Hlazo, the Member of Parliament for Chilanga Constituency. So welcome, Honorable.
Thank you. Good evening. And good evening, viewers.
Good evening. And helping me today, the co-host is Wiseman, the TV Bakwetu journalist. He will be my co-presenter. Good evening, Wiseman. I think Wiseman is having a bit of a challenge with connectivity. I hope he'll join us soon. Honorable Hlazo, thank you so much for finding time to join us. Although it was you were invited at short notice, we appreciate your availability to participate in this program.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So where do we begin from? I think where to start from is really to know who is Honorable Sipho Hlazo as a person. Who is Honorable Sipho Hlazo?
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Nkwilimba. My full names are Sipo Plazo. I was born on the 11th of April, 1986. Did my primary school I started primary went to Lake Road, did my grade 1, Lake Road PTS school in Osaka. That was the way I did my grade 1 to grade 7, and then moved on to my secondary schooling at Chengelo School in Mukushi. That was from grade 8 to grade 12. Then after secondary school, I then went to South Africa to pursue studies in development studies. I was there, came back in 2007, and then I joined. I come from a family background that is in business. I joined a family business that is in road construction. I joined my elder brother. By that time, my father was late. If anything, I'll tell you, I was born. I'm the second second child of 3 boys, born to the late Stanford Lazo and Peggy Munkombwe. Actually, my father was a member of parliament also for Mumbwa constituency under the MMD in 1990 up to 1992 when he resigned with Guy Scott and the group when they formed the National Party. And then he came back. He was the first UPND member of parliament for Mumbwa in 2000 through a by-election. Apart from that, I was in the family business until about 2009 when I opened my own company that was in road. I've got a company that specializes in road marking. So I'm into road construction, and I've been doing that over the years now. I've had this interest, my interest in politics comes, from my family background, actually.
Yeah, in fact, that was going to be the next question I was going to ask you, how you become interested in politics. But before you go to that, actually, I think you went to Chengelo. I have familiarity with Chengelo. My children went to Chengelo. I don't know whether maybe they went there after you had you had left. So I had all three of my children go to Chengelo as Mapanza, Junior. No secret.
Yes, actually, yes, we were together actually.
Oh, you were in the same group? Where were you? Or you were ahead of them?
I was just below Mapanza.
Oh, okay. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah. So then how did you become interested in politics?
When we were, we always had politicians come home. And then my late father, his friends, the late Baldwin Kumbula, I actually drew a lot of inspiration from him. We were always in their home. They were always at our home. And a number of the politicians. So this is where I used to, watch them, I must say, quite a bit. And then when I was in Form 2, I remember the time where there was a by-election in Mumba. My late father actually picked me up during the holiday, and I spent time in Mumba with him campaigning. And that's how, I drew a lot of interest here. I saw what the people needed. And then in here, my place, I've lived in Chilanga for the past 22 years now. So I've seen what people need. People always come to me for help and I said, it would be much easier for me rather than helping as an individual. I could help them through being in this position. It would be easier for me.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, how do you compare, the campaigns of those days when you would be able to follow your father as a young person when he was going to, for campaigns, and your experience as you are campaigning in Chilanga constituency? Can you any comparisons?
Yeah, that time the campaigns were much better. I'll tell you, elections, should I say politics of that time, you would meet, you would cross each other. I remember that time there was the MMD, UNIP, the UPND, and people would, you would campaign almost even in the same area. But this time around, especially the past 10 years, the PF era, saw a lot of violence. My election in Chilanga was marred with a lot of violence, I'll tell you, Every day was a risk, you get into the campaign not knowing whether you get back alive or not, Chilanga was marred with so much violence, actually. But, I think God was with us, and so we managed.
Yeah, it's really, I think I got a bit of what happened to you during the campaigns. Would you like to share just one or two examples of how violent the campaigns were? You know, I'm asking this because really, you know, you risked your life because you had a cause, and we'll be discussing that as we go on. You know, what you bring in Chilanga and so on. But no, just share briefly your experience of violence, political violence during the campaigns.
You know, I actually had this. I remember one time about a month, that was in the month of July, you know, when we went out campaigning and we were attacked. There were 3 cars, actually, PF thugs in Land Cruiser and 2 Ford Rangers. So when they saw us, we were just using one van at the time and we had some cadres behind. And that's how they saw us and started to chase us, you know, and we had to drive, actually had to go to town because we were off on Lumumba Road, and they kept pursuing us, hitting us, and they took out weapons. And actually one of our guys almost died because they kept bumping into us and throwing stones. And you see, it was in broad daylight. This was around 11. They took out guns, actually, you know, until one of our guys, and they hit us the 3rd time from the back with their Land Cruiser. One of the guys fell off. So their car hooked onto our car, and we were basically pulling, and they tried to now jump from their vehicle to get onto ours. But we went onto a photo, and that's how the vehicle managed to unhook itself. But then one of our guys fell off, and then these guys ran over him. So when they saw that they ran over him, they turned around and ran over him again. And that is how they sped off. So we went to the police, got the police, and picked the guy up, took him to the hospital. Not only that, the other time they came home. So you can imagine every day of the campaign, I had to have about 15 guys at my home every day just to protect my family, you know. So that is how it was, extremely bad.
Yeah, that was so sad. I'm glad that you know, I hope that going forward we will not experience such violence again. There is no reason why anybody should be attacked. Nobody should suffer the kind of suffering many Zambians did, just because you know, because they chose to belong to, you know, a political party or one kind or another. There is no reason why any Zambian should be chased, should be violated, should be, you know, beaten. You know, there's no reason for that. And really, I hope that going forward, we are going to experience an environment where, you know, there is freedom of speech, there's freedom of assembly, and people can campaign without fear of being harassed. Anyway, yeah, that was really, and you did it for a cause, and we thank God that you made it. You are now the member of parliament for Chilanga. Actually, it's my constituency. I'm in Chilanga constituency as well.
Yes.
So, Honorable, what do you bring to Chilanga constituency?
Okay, you see, I'll tell you. Now, for me, you see, I'll tell you, to Chilanga, we bring new, you know, we are the new generation. You know, new ideas. We're not going to go back to the same old. What we don't want is go back to the people to say, we are bringing you just the common things of water. We're going to bring you the usual. We want to bring a difference. You know, I'll tell you, Chilanga is a unique constituency. You know, it's a bit different because Chilanga has a rural setup, it's got the urban setup, it's got the farmers, it's got, you know, all kinds of people. So there are different needs. So for me, this is a major challenge, but I do believe that we are going to deliver, and I will only deliver with the people. I will not be able to do it alone, and this is why I believe development can only be brought by joining hands with the people, the communities, and the people of Chilanga. That way we're going to do it.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah. It's good to hear, and you know, the reason why we have brought on this program really is mainly to focus on the CDF.
Yes.
There will be a lot of resources that will be going to constituencies up to the ward level, and
yes.
You know, it's a new thing, and you know, 25.7 million is something that is so significant when you compare to what used to be there before at 1.6 million. And we hope that by participating in this program, many people are going to learn about the Constituency Development Fund and the structures that are established to manage that, starting with the Constituency Development Fund Committee and going down to ward development committees and all down to the zones where we have zonal representatives. And the idea is that any development that comes in a constituency is something that has started with the people themselves. So the idea is that we are going to learn what is happening throughout the country. We'll be going from one ward to another, one constituency to another, and we hope that we can share what is happening. We can learn. We can ask questions. We can help each other if we are facing challenges, and just for the sake of educating one another, and especially the involvement of the community. A lot of people are not aware of how they can participate. So that's why we thought we should come up with this program. Having said that, Honorable Plazo, could you just briefly explain the major objectives of CDF?
Sorry, you are breaking. Pardon me?
Could you just briefly explain the major objectives of the CDF, Constituency Development Fund?
Okay. You see, the CDF, like you've mentioned, is been increased from 1.6 to 25.7 million kwacha now, which is a significant increase. And now you see money has now been brought to the people. So, the people really, communities, they really have to get involved in this. This money belongs to them. It does not belong to myself as Member of Parliament. All I do is sit on a committee, which I pick 3 representatives, and I must say that we've already formed our CDF committee as Chilanga. The past few weeks, I've seen us form the WDCs. Chilanga has got 12 wards, and each of the wards had to form the ward development committees. So the ward committees, I'll tell you, the communities sit and push their proposals, whatever they need in each ward will be brought to the table, to the WDCs, and the WDCs are going to sit and bring those proposals to the Constituency Development Committee, and then we as a committee will sit and identify projects and say we'll pick on each ward, see which projects we are going to pick. That is how it's going to be. Now you see, as we heard, the CDF is broken down into 3-4 categories. I'll tell you, 60% of the CDF is going to be used for capital projects. 20% is going to be used for bursaries and the other related issues. 10% is for youth empowerment, and another 10%, the other 10% is for the youth empowerment. So this is how it's been broken down. But I must say, and let the people know, also the viewers know, that we're actually still waiting for the final guidelines from the Ministry of Local Government to tell us how this fund is going to be, the modalities and all with this fund. Yes, sir.
Great. Yeah, maybe before I ask you another question, I will ask my colleague, the co-host, in case he has any other question to ask. Wiseman, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Nkwilimba, and good evening, Honorable. Unfortunately, my network is failing me. Yeah, my network is failing me here. So if anything happened, I think you apologize. I apologize to our viewers and to you, Honorable. But hopefully, we are going to manage until the end of this program. Thank you very much for according us this opportunity to speak with you and to speak with the people of Zambezi. I think as my comrade, Mr. Nkwilimba, has earlier alluded, he has already kicked the ball rolling on the issue of the CDF. We have seen the cooperatives being created. To my knowledge, most young ones are making those cooperatives unknowingly on what a cooperative means. And we never took time to educate other young ones to make them understand what a cooperative is all about. What have you done so far to make sure that people of Chilanga, they understand how they will be acquiring that CDF through empowerment, through the cooperative they are creating? And how are you going to handle the issue of disabled people when it comes to such kind of empowerment, when it comes to Chilanga? Thank you for now.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so you see what we've done is that we've actually gone, you see what we're actually in Chilanga, what I'm actually trying to tell the people is that, you see, the empowerment is not only on cooperatives, because now it's like the whole country's, that's now the past, if you see the past few weeks, it's just been talk about cooperatives, forming cooperatives, but you see, they should also form companies. This is where I'm going. You see, they should form the businesses also, because there will be a lot of works to be done. And for Chilanga, what I am proposing and what I'm telling the people is that let whatever works will be in Chilanga. We need to identify bricklayers, the electricians, whatever works will be in the constituency should be done by companies registered here. People from the constituency should be the first to benefit, unless we don't have those people. Otherwise, from the we've got a department that is got that deals with cooperatives, and we've told them to really go out and tell these people, because you see what the people actually think is that this is free money, you know, for cooperatives. They think that money will just be given for free and they don't return. So what we need to tell our people now also is that this is not free money. They need to work hard also. When they get this money, they need to, you put it into whatever plans, whatever programs that they intend to do, and not misuse that money. Because this time around, we don't want this cooperatives thing to be a fail. We saw this under the MMD and it didn't happen, but this time it should be different. It needs to be different.
Indeed, it's not free money. I think that's important to emphasize. You know, a lot of people think that this is going to be business as usual. They know how they received money in the past and how they used it. In fact, what I've heard is that some young people are already saying, "Oh yeah, we are going to form these cooperatives, and as soon as we receive the money, we are going to share it."
Yes.
So it's really important to emphasize the fact that this is not free money, and it is not business as usual. If people think that they can just receive the money and share it amongst themselves, perhaps they are waiting for a rude shock.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, this time it will be different this time around. I'll tell you, we won't have what we saw in the past 10 years. You know, this time, this is a serious government, and we mean business, and what we want to do is see development. We won't have any games like that. You know, people were cheated. If you see, people were fooled in the previous government. That money, those monies that they were dishing out to them and all that money, that was their money. That money should have been pushed to development. That money should have been used to empower the people. But you see, the PF, the previous government, mismanaged this country, I must say, simply, you know. So this time around, you know, this government is trying to put things in place. You know, we've got a lot of damage, you know, that we need to control, that we need to put in place, a lot of things. So, you know, we need, for me, I believe we need to work hand in hand with the people. You know, the mindset needs to change, first of all. You know, people need to understand that, you know, there is no such thing as free money. Any money that you need to work for it. That is the only way people can work, can have money.
Exactly, and the other point is, you know, the what is trending now is, as you have said, everybody's talking about, you know, youths form cooperatives, women form cooperatives, you know. Yeah, I think that's a right caution, that people should not just talk about cooperatives. They should even think about companies where they themselves, as individuals, the youth, can actually form companies and benefit, you know, from this fund to begin their businesses and to make their business grow. That's
Yes.
important. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, since really this is you are the MP for Chilanga, we want you maybe to monopolize Chilanga in terms of setting the foundation, the preparation, for managing the CDF. What has happened in the constituency so far to this point?
No, so far, because as you know it, now for the new allocation, this 25, nothing really has been released yet, because as we mentioned, they're still working on the guidelines. But as of Friday, we actually had a CDF committee sitting in which we were allocating what we've decided, because we had the 1.6, the last allocation, last year's 1.6. So we were making use of it. But what we've decided to do is that actually the past week we went around to look at projects that were incomplete, that were started by the previous member of parliament and them. So we went around to see the projects which were not complete, and then we've decided to just complete because they are of benefit to the community. There are a few schools, there are a few water projects that need to be boreholes to be sunk, and also we are going to continue with that, and that's how we are going to use that. But as of the 25, if anything, before, what we're going to do in Chilanga actually is have a lot of training, especially for our women and youths, even those who are forming cooperatives, the companies. Before we release money to them, they are going to have to be trained in whatever field they are applying for, whether it's in agriculture, the construction. What we want to actually do is also engage the National Council for Construction, also have a few youths, women go there for training before anything.
I think training will be critical. I have done a bit of consulting with some cooperatives, and what you learn is that sometimes people don't think that a cooperative is an institution and it must be run as such. People hold positions for a reason. If they are chairpersons, they are secretaries, they are treasurers, they hold those positions for a reason. And some people don't even understand why they are on those committees. I think it will be critical really to train, especially the youth that will be forming cooperatives, how a cooperative is supposed to function effectively.
Yes.
Why? Any more questions?
Thank you very much, Comrade. I think, Honorable, for me as a young politician, I think there is something which has been always hitting me. I don't know about you. Every time when we ask an MP about what are some of the problems he's facing in his constituency, we never find an MP who's going to mention those problems without adding the loads. From time immemorial, we are now 50 something plus years ever since we got independence. What are some of the problems which we have notified in Chilanga, which will be worked on through CDF and through central government? And what are those which are which need emergency from the government, so that the people of Chilanga can see the light of time? I think we have seen that the new Dawn government and our president, I think they mean business. They are here to make sure that the people, they can get what they want. But if we can continue with the same thing which used to happen, where you can make a tired road today, next week the tired road is damaged, then even if the money is big, we will still be eating on the hard stone. So if you were to highlight through this TV Bakwetu, I'm sure some of the keynote people, they can be following. What are some of the major problems Chilanga is facing, which need emergency attendance, even as we are waiting for this CDF to be actualized? Thank you.
Okay, I'll tell you one thing. You see, Chilanga, one of the major issues we're facing is water issues. Water is a major problem. But you see, actually 2 weeks ago, we actually engaged the Lusaka Water and Sanitation. I had a meeting with them. You see, people need access to clean water. And I must say that we're making a lot of progress with them, because areas like Chilanga itself, Chilanga Ward, and then we've got another area like that is called Namalombwe, which is more or less like a compound setup. What we're trying to do is have water quickly connected to them and have people in Namalongwe also have access to flushable toilets, because you see, we can't have this day and age people still using pit latrines. We need to move away from that. You know, another thing we need to do is encourage, you see, electricity is another problem that we're facing in some of the parts. So we are going to have electricity connected. The roads issues. Roads are a major problem in most of the rural parts. And as you know, Chilanga produces a lot, supplies a lot of farm produce to not only to the country, but the market there in Soweto. But you find the farmers, some of the areas where this produce comes from, the roads now, as I actually speak, you go to places like, even here in Makeni area, you go to Mwembeshi area, the roads have become practically impassable now. So we really need to quickly move in. And one of the things I also want to mention on this TV is that, you see, Chilanga is one of the, I believe, is one of the richest constituencies, because you see there are a number. We're going to work with the private sector. Actually, there are a lot of companies. It's an industrial hub. There's so much growth. I'll tell you. We've got big companies coming up, also industries, and they also are joining. We've actually started to engage them for them to come on board, and they're actually going to join hands with us and help us, because we see where we're able to use CDF, we're going to be able to use them. Some have actually pledged things like clinics, police posts. So instead of us using that money from CDF, where we would say we would have to build a clinic or a police post with the CDF money, I believe now we can move that money elsewhere, because we've got someone from the private sector, to a stakeholder from the private sector to actually help us. So there are things like Apollo. You go to Apollo L85 barrack, where you have thousands of the people who work in the defense force. Today, they don't have also access to water. Their road there is bad. So they also, in as much as they work for that is a government facility, but we would also have to use some of our CDF to actually help there. We need to make sure they are also connected to water. Issues of empowerment also. You see, the number of youths in Chilanga are not doing anything. This is why you find young people complaining to say, people complain to say young people are only found in bars. But you see, you cannot blame the youth, because you see, there's nothing has been set for them. I'll tell you, after education, there have been no jobs, as we saw. So what we want to do is actually in Chilanga is encourage most of our youth to actually go the agriculture way, because you see, we believe agriculture is the next big thing. You know, agriculture, they can never go wrong. So we need to have them go through trainings, and they can be able to, you see, once they're empowered in agriculture, within a year or so, you know, they'll make enough and actually start to support other youths also who are going to follow. That is one of the major things that we want to do. Another major thing that we want to do, set up in Chilanga, is to put up a multi-sport facility in the constituency. This is one of the plans that we actually see, something that would be actually bigger and more modern than the OYDC, because there's a lot of talent, as we've seen in Chilanga. We've identified a number of youth, and we can be able to tap into the talent. These are some of the things that we intend to do.
Thank you, Honorable. Wiseman, maybe, I don't know if you're able to check the comments and any questions that may be coming from the viewers. You could bring those anytime you are able to. We have been joined by two other people. I can see there's Ruben and Maureen Ngulube. Can I first invite Maureen Ngulube either to ask questions or to make comments? Maureen, are you there?
No, not at the moment. I don't have any question.
Oh, so you're just there to listen. Okay, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Ruben?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Nkwilimba. Good evening, Honorable.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, Honorable.
Evening, Ruben.
Yeah, just one question. I wanted to find out. Yeah, immediately the new dawn came in after the new government came in. They released the 2020 CDF. Wanted to find out from that amount, what projects have you done there in Chilanga?
Pardon? You were breaking. Sorry, you say immediately you don't came in.
Yeah, they released the 2020 CDF. 2021 CDF was released to all the constituencies, and I'm sure Chilanga was one of the constituencies that received the money. So I wanted to find out from that money, what projects have you done there in Chilanga? Thank you.
Okay. Oh, like I mentioned actually earlier, we actually only sat on Friday when we approved certain projects, but some of the things that we, like I mentioned, was to complete some of the projects that were started. We've got a school, a 1x3 classroom block in Chilongolo. We've got another school in Chilongolo, which is Chilongolo Ward in Makeni GRZ school. We've got a Shampule primary school where we need to put up a 1x3 classroom block, which is in Chinyanja Ward. In Mwembeshi, actually, we need to put up some housing for some teachers at Mano Primary. We've got 3 boreholes that we actually need to also, which we actually approved. And then we've got a market in Namalombwe Ward, which we actually going to also complete. We actually only approved these day before yesterday on Friday sitting. This is with regard to the 1.6 million kwacha.
Okay, Ruben, any other question?
No, thank you very much.
Thank you for participating.
Yes, there's one concern that the Minister of Local Government had brought out, that there are some constituencies that were not using the CDF in the past. I wanted to find out if Chilanga also had that challenge, where they received the CDF but they sit on it.
Sorry, you're breaking. I couldn't get you. Good.
I'm saying one of the changes that the Honorable Minister for Local Government brought out was that there are some constituencies where they receive CDF, but they sit on it until the year elapses and the money goes back to the Minister of Finance. I wanted to find out if you have such cases like in the past in your constituency.
Yes, actually, because actually what we actually found is that on top of the what we have actually now sitting in the CDF account for Chilanga, what we actually found was 2.7 million kwacha, which means there was next about 1.1 million kwacha which was not utilized. So on top of the 1.6, we had an extra 1.1, which made it 2.7 million kwacha. So this, I must say that it was one of the constituencies actually which sat on the CDF.
Okay, at this point, we would like to do a bit of marketing. Please, those who can, you can give TV Bakwetu some stars. And these stars they help in the running of TV Bakwetu. So those who can manage to do that, please give us as many stars as you can. These are not stars that you give from Facebook, but I think on this program you can see where you can go to those stars, and when you give a star, you will be guided on how to proceed with that process. Wiseman, are you able to see any comments or any questions in the chat?
Okay, thank you very much, comrade. I think I'm not able to see the comments due to the network failure here where I am. For that, I think I need to apologize to our viewers that due to network issues, we're not able to see your comment, but we can pass the comment. We are going to get those comments and through them to our honorable so that he can respond like a place query. and to encourage more viewers to support us as TV Bakwetu. As my comrade has said, you can subscribe to our channel, and you can send us stuff for the support of this program. Honorable, with that in mind, I think I want to take you back where we saw some CDF money were being used by the PF without even trying to go out of the road just to eat anyone they ate. The PF government were misusing our resources. And now the New Dawn government has said we need to use these resources to see the mark. Like here in Kawe, I'm sure even there in Chilanga, you have got some infrastructure which were built by our colonial masters. Up to now, they are standing and they are still looking good. Compare with the current building which were built by the PF, like here in Kawe, even there in Chilanga, I'm sure you have got some. You can't even
Yes.
admire where you can say this is something money can be wasted, can be spent. What measures are you going to put in place to make sure that those young ones who will be trying to get those jobs, they will make sure that they can bring up something to stand the test of time? So it's not about empowering only. It's not about giving youth job, but it's about creating something which will stand the test of time. And it's like it's more to build our country. Our president recently went to Dubai. I'm sure Chilanga will be one of the beneficiaries from that trip. What are some of the measures you are trying to put in place to make sure that those resources which will be coming to Chilanga can be used accordingly and the people of Chilanga can benefit? Thank you.
Yes, you see, like you've mentioned, before anything, especially to do with infrastructure, what we are going to do is have those that are going to take up those projects go through training. And that's why we mentioned we're going to engage the National Council for Construction, and there's going to be a lot of monitoring. What we are not going to do is just approve projects and not monitor. We are going to monitor, have random checks, and we'll be hands-on. You know, we are actually going to be hands-on, and we're also going to engage whatever materials are going to be used on these projects will have to be put through testing also. Because what we want to do, what we want to see is to have quality this time around. You know, we want to go back to having a quality buildings like we saw before, and not what we've seen in the past, where people would go through shortcuts because there was no monitoring at all, or people were getting kickbacks and anything would pass. We are not going to allow that this time around.
Thank you, Honorable. Welcome. Do you have any questions to ask the Honorable or some comments to make?
Good evening, Honorable. How are you today?
Fine, thank you. How are you, Mr. Nkwilimba?
Very fine, thank you. It's good to see people we elected and representing us and being so articulated in our, or representing us according to what we expected. And I'm so glad that you are on board and you want to bring proper development and not the shoddy jobs that the previous regime did. So we really appreciate that. My question is, it's not going to really border on the amount of money that is going to be allocated, because already from your discussion, I could hear that the previous, the last year's project has not even commenced yet, or it's in the pipeline. And the money, I believe it's somewhere hanging somewhere there. So my main interest is on how you treat the senior citizens in our society today. Do you have any deliberate program or policy in your constituency where you are looking after elderly people that have been neglected by their own family, or neglected by the government upon giving them, either not paying them their remunerations. From the 25 million, will it be okay for you in your constituency to allocate 1% of that money to the welfare of looking after the people, the elderly people in your constituency? It's the elderly people and the children, especially the elderly people. The society is known, it is always seen to be a good society when you see how they treat their old folks. Despite all these miambo, where elderly people have been maimed, called names, but how do you have a policy that helps our elderly folks? That's my first question, and my second question will follow as we move on. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Okay, though it was breaking, I think I got your question. For sure, you see, we're working. What we're actually doing now is working. We're working very closely with the Ministry of Community and Development. You see, we've got a department actually in the district that has the district social and welfare officer. And what we're actually doing now is actually make sure these people first of all, they've got a lot of work to do, because they need to go around the constituency and identify all the elderly people that actually deserve. Because this time around, what we want to is those elderly people to actually be put on that program. Because what we saw previously, I may not dwell much on what was done before, because I don't really know what happened, but we saw that a number of the elderly were actually left out. So whatever the previous government was doing, we really don't know. But for ourselves, as Chilanga, what we're actually going to do is in each ward, actually there are officers. So the officers in each ward are going around to make sure they take a count and make sure they count and put all the elderly people that actually deserve to be on that social cash program on the list, so that they can start to benefit as well. They should be able to benefit. Actually, we had an incident about 3 weeks ago where we had an elderly man living at a church. There's one Baptist church along Mungwe Road, which is in Nyemba Ward. And this man had nowhere to go, you see. And then you would find that we actually have a social welfare officer in the ward and in the community, but they had no idea that these people, there's a person who actually needs to be helped. So we actually went, picked him up, and actually tried to take him to Matero, because there's a home for the elderly there. But you see, now things have changed. You cannot just pick up elderly people and go and dump them there, because in the past, these people, what has actually been found from the information we gathered at the elderly home there, is that some of these people actually have families, and which was the case with this elderly man who was living at the church. You see, we've got a problem, I believe, countrywide, where now, you see, I don't know whether it is society that is changing and all, because now you will find children actually will go and dump their parents or grandparents when they feel they are too old and just say they don't have any families, when actually they do have families that would actually be able to take care of them. So I think it's also something that I think a lot of education needs to be done, regarding elderly, because a lot of elderly people are actually starting to get abandoned by their families. So we've got a lot of work to do in that area also, not only as Chilanga, but as a country at large.
Thank you so much for that clarification. I just brought out that issue deliberately, so that at least as you are making plans on how to distribute or the CDF, you should also bear in mind that we have senior citizens that have saved this country, or that has made it possible for us to be where we are today. Because I believe most of our society, like you put it, it is true we have neglected our elderly people. And no, most families, they claim to have some financial difficulties or economical difficulties, and therefore they just tend to forget and abandon. And you know, elderly people, when you have retired, you have reached the retirement age, you can't get a job elsewhere. You can only be thrown in a village and start cultivating land. But where do you get the strength? So that is where now the government, through the Ministry of Social Welfare, and of course through the area MP, the constituencies, because these elderly people are found in our communities. So that's where you come in and identify these people. You don't have to simply talk about, no, they have families. They may have families, but the question is, are those families obligated to look after their parents? I don't think so. They are not by law, but they have the moral obligation to look after their parents, isn't it? But it's the other way around. But when you are a parent yourself and you have children, you will have the legal obligation. Like, sorry to mention it, but some of your counterparts that were in the opposition who fathered children elsewhere and rejected, they have the legal obligation to provide maintenance and support and affiliation to those children until proven otherwise.
We are still waiting for DNA. So we are not sure whether somebody was responsible. So maybe
it's only science that can exonerate. It's only science bringing some chaps and paying some few individuals to come and claim Pakanua at yo Ninevo. It won't help us anyway. Anyway, let's not get out of the. I just wanted to bring this light moment because serious, MP. But otherwise, we are happy to have you, my brother, and I just want you guys to continue with what you're doing. We are here for you. We are hearing what you are doing, and we will support you 100%. And we'll tell the people in your constituency, especially Chilanga, to actually rally behind you and support you. And we want you to be a servant, not the boss, where you start ignoring calls from your local, your people. Yes. So otherwise, the hands up and kudos that you're doing a great job, and just continue. And remember that we care and we are listening and we want to see results.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so Honorable, any last remarks that you'd want to make?
I actually want to also, before we go, is also encourage you. See what I've also, it's not only about development and all. What we need to do is change. What I want is that, you see, in the next 2 years, we can come back, people can sit. You see, for Chilanga, what we actually started doing is to have, we've kind of brought back the town hall meetings. At least we need to engage. What I want to do is to engage with the communities. In as much as Chilanga is big, the 12 words vast, but at least, maybe quarterly we can be able to meet different communities, go around, get feedback, and just have interactions with the community, see where we're not doing anything right, where they feel what they feel we need to do. Because you see, for us to actually deliver, require a lot of transparency. And what I want to bring about is transparency in all that we do. Even in Parliament, you see, with this new technology that we have now, it's easy. Communication has been made much easier. So on these blogs we're on, what I've actually started to do is to ask the people. We've got a Chilanga blog, and whilst we're sitting in Parliament, I'll pause and ask the people, is there anything, as those that are following, the parliamentary cities to ask, is there anything they would want, me to ask on their behalf? Because you see, for me, I believe I'm, as you know, you mentioned, and that is known, I'm simply a representative of the majority people of Chilanga. So I get back to them and ask them, is there anything that you want me to ask in Parliament? So they can text me immediately there on WhatsApp, and you can push it, bring it up during the question and answer time, or whenever the motions on.
And one thing we didn't tell you, Honorable, the one thing we didn't tell you, Honorable, is that people are free to use local languages on this program. I don't know what local language you are comfortable with, but if you were to address the people of Chilanga in respect with the Constituency Development Fund and any other issue, what would you tell them? Maybe speak in any language that you'd want to use other than English, so that some people who may not understand English can get you.
No, we understand Tonga, Nyanja, Bemba, but I'll just encourage them that in drama CDF vantu muchilanga ni drama zanu, sin drama za MP, sin drama zanga, ni drama zanu. So not muzikonga mubwere mukonke kumawadi, kuma WDC, yonse ma project, yonse ma empowerment, manje ya bwera, iyi ndiye chance. Sitifuna kumvera after 5 years madandaolo. Betifunoona is after 2 years vantu malaiji anu ya chinja. This time around muno muchilanga. Sitifuna vantu kudandaula, because mwaona Chilanga ni ikulu maningi, ero Chilanga tikachita empower maningi makamaka munkani ya agriculture. Chilanga yatu yamene ndiye ngachite supply first of all yonse Lusaka. Mulinkani munga maveji munkani ya agriculture. So izi mwena kabila ni ndrama zanu va Chilanga mubwere. Tisebenzere pamozi. Ichi si chintu changa ni chanu, ine ndine representative wanu chabe pano. Ine omukambirani chabe kuita kusongolo. Batini ngabichite cheneka ngati mwankala chabe. So tieni tisebenzere pamozi. Tisebenzera pamozi ndiye mwetizabuleta chitukuko muno mchilanga. Sikomo.
Thank you so much, Honorable Lazo, for making an appearance on TV Bakwetu. And please know that anytime you want to come back to send a message to your people in Chilanga, please just let us know. We will be able to create, that opportunity for you to do so. And for the rest of the viewership, please know that this program, we will try to have it every Saturday from 20 hours. And some of you that have viewed this or listened to this, and you are in the leadership structures, either at constituency or ward level, do get in touch with us, because we would want to bring here as many people as possible to share what is happening in their constituencies and their wards. Thank you so much, Honorable. And I think we lost you, Wiseman. Thank you, Wiseman, for joining us, for being a co-host. Thank you, Womu Kalabai, for joining us. Morini Ngulube, I think she has also disappeared. And Ruben, thank you. This was TV Bakwetu presenting, hearing from the constituencies. Bye for now until next week at the same time. Bye-bye.